Risk control is the phase where the manufacturer determines measures and actions for reducing risks to an acceptable level. The acceptable level is defined by the risk acceptability criteria. You should establish these criteria for risk acceptability in advance of any risk management activity. What actions can be done to lower the risk level? One possible action is to change the device design to reduce the risk and improve safety. Another action is to introduce protective measures in the device or in the manufacturing process. You can even include a warning statement in the instructions for use or in the device label. All these are examples of actions that can mitigate the risk level of medical devices. However, beware to review if new hazards or hazardous situations are introduced after applying the risk control measures. If that is the case, new actions should be introduced to mitigate them. After implementing the risk control measures, you should evaluate the residual risk using the criteria for risk acceptability defined in the risk management plan. If the residual risk is not acceptable using these criteria, further risk control measures need to be considered. But what if a specific risk cannot be mitigated? If the manufacturer determines that risk reduction is not possible, then a benefit-risk analysis of the residual risk should be conducted. Let's discuss what that means. When further risk control is not predictable, you can gather and review data and literature to determine if the benefits of the intended use outweigh the residual risk. If this evidence does not support the conclusion that the benefits outweigh the residual risk, you may consider modifying the medical device or its intended use. But could you instead decide to do nothing? Not at all, because the risk would remain unacceptable. The next phase is the evaluation of overall residual risk that remains present after implementing all risk control measures. This is the phase where all the benefits are compared with the residual risks. If the overall residual risk is acceptable, you can inform users of significant residual risks and include warnings and information in the instructions in order to disclose the residual risks. The device's risk management plan needs to be reviewed before a medical device is placed on the market. The results of this evaluation need to be documented in the risk management report. If fundamental changes are made during the device life cycle, the plan has to be updated accordingly. This means if there are any deviations from the plan, it is necessary to document them in the report. The review can also mention the methods that will be in place for the collection and evaluation of information from the post-production phase. And finally, the conclusions of the review report should confirm if the residual risks are acceptable. You've learned that risk management of medical devices does not end with the design and development. Manufacturers of devices must continue to ensure that device benefits outweigh the risks throughout the entire product lifecycle. Monitoring production and post-production information may result in the identification of unforeseen hazardous situations and can also be used to refine risk estimations. Why is monitoring so important? The consistent collection and evaluation of production and post-production data is important to keep the risk management file current and use it as a preventative action.